about 20 miles per hour. So let me widen it out. There's the tornado warning again. We'll widen this out, turn off the lightning, and I'm going to put a storm track on the tornado. The movement I have on it, let me get an updated movement of the actual speed. I have it moving east at 55, so let's fly, and that looks a little quick. So let me update the track here. We'll put it at about 45, track it out in this general direction. So there's the path. Richburg, 650. Great Falls around 658. And then heading towards Lancaster. If it clips the southern part of Lancaster, it's going to be around 707. Now, the whole storm has large hail and damaging winds with it, but the part that we're tracking is that significant rotation couplet that we're seeing just north of the town of Cornwall, which is just south of downtown Chester. Richburg is up to the north, so Richburg is right there. You can see that in the top of your screen. I'm going to go over the key wall real quickly, and we'll show you that storm right there. There's Richburg right there. So there's a new tornado warning. I think that might actually be an updated warning. Let me go back and see, because that looks like a confirmed tornado warning based on what I'm seeing right there. Do not know why they reissued. Okay, they reissued it to 7:15, so that updated warning is until 7:15. So we've got a radar indicated tornado as I anticipated. That is a confirmed tornado, folks, just to the northeast of Cornwall. So Richburg, Great Falls, Fort Lawn, and then eventually Lancaster. Those are the areas of greatest concern right now. So let me go in closely and we'll track this, pushing off in this direction. So I'm going to put the track. And again, if you know anybody in the path of this storm, if you're watching me right now online, on air, on social, please text, call, give them a heads up. This is a legit tornado. This is not radar indicated. This is a confirmed tornado on the ground. Now, we use the radar to indicate that because the radar is actually detecting debris lofted from this tornado. So there's your couplet, south and east of Chester, heading towards Rossville, Beckhamville, Great Falls, Belltown, the town of Caskey, and then Lancaster around 707. So that's the second time we've seen Lancaster show up there around 707. Now remember, if you're in the path of this storm, here are your tips. Get to the lowest level of your home, the most interior room. You see that green room? That room is in the middle of your home. It's away from the outside walls and windows. What we want you to do is protect yourself from flying debris. That debris is what causes injuries. And the more walls between you and the outside, the more walls that can block that flying debris. So if you live in the path of this storm, I need you to get to the lowest floor of your house, and I need you to give me some help here and convince people that are in this area to seek shelter immediately from this storm, because this is one of the strongest circulations we've seen in a while. This looks stronger than some of the circulations we had 2 weeks ago with those supercells, because this one actually is showing debris on the ground. So currently we have debris being lofted by the storm, moving to the east at 50 miles per hour. So this is going to cross I-77. So here's another thing we need to be wary of. People driving on I-77, hopefully with what's going on, there aren't a lot of people on the interstate right now. If you know anybody traveling on 77 between Rock Hill and the Columbia area down towards Winnsboro, maybe going down towards Newberry in that area, please tell them to pull over and wait this storm out. Do not continue south or north into Chester County right now, because this storm has got a tornado on the ground. Let's go back to the dual pole data here. I'm going to flip back and forth to this. We can scroll. Let me go back to this radar really quick. Here we go. We'll pull this up. And what I'm looking at right here is right in this area in the middle of your screen. This is an indication of debris being lofted right there. So a pretty strong signature on the radar. You don't see that very often in our area. Last time we saw a significant circulation like that was when the tornado came through parts of South Charlotte. So again, this storm is tracking east just north of Great Falls. Looks like it's going to pass just north of Great Falls, just south of Richburg, really close to Great Falls, between Great Falls and Fort Lawn as it pushes east. But I want to give people heads up back here in Lancaster County. So you're technically under a severe thunderstorm warning, but this cell is likely going to continue to produce a tornado because it's doing what we call cycling. and it's actually staying pretty close to that warm front, which is the area where we're seeing the most rotation. So let me go over to the key wall real quickly here, and we'll kind of show you that circulation showing up on first storm Doppler radar. So here's central Lancaster County. There's the city of Lancaster. There's Kershaw down there. Here's Chester. So Chester, you got clobbered with the hail. You were in what we call the bear's cage there. Not a great place to be in a storm, but this is the tornado. So what's happening is the precipitation's wrapping around. There's inflow coming into the updraft, and this is the tornado. So this is that hook echo you've probably heard a lot about. There it is, heading towards Great Falls. There's Richburg, Rock Hills up there, Fort Lawn. So it's going to cross the Catawba River, move into central Lancaster County, down towards Heath Springs, go down there off into the elementary school. All the folks down there, heads up, if you're watching right now or if you know somebody down in the area, please tell them to seek shelter because even though you're not under the warning yet, this is heading your way. Hopefully everybody in Chester County is in a safe spot right now as it gets closer to I-77. So confirm radar tornado, and what that means is the radar beam is bouncing off of tree limbs. Hopefully that's just tree limbs, branches, maybe leaves or other debris, not parts of structures, we hope. But the radar can indicate when it's actually seeing that, not raindrops or hail in the storm. So this is a radar-indicated confirmed tornado pushing to the east. One of the benefits of dual-pole Doppler radar is you can do that as the storm pushes east. Now, the reason you don't see the warning here in Lancaster County yet, this is covered from the Columbia Weather Service office. This is covered by the Greenville-Spartanburg office. So they're probably coordinating right now for the next office to issue the warning here for parts of Lancaster County. If you're watching at 6 o'clock and then follow me online, I was telling you, go ahead and treat this one like a tornado warning because you could actually see that developing here. So back to the west, this thing is starting to calm down, but back here in the eastern part of Chester County, that's the area of greatest concern. So let me go over to the radar one more time, and I want to check with some of our spotters. Just had a report coming out of, it looks like Chester, of some golf ball size hail as well. So pretty significant hail with that storm, and that's the part that moved over Chester. So let's go in real close here. I'm going to go in and close and try to give you some landmarks here for folks who aren't familiar with this area. It's going to cross over 77 just south of the Richburg area. So areas on Richburg. Richburg is right up at the top of your screen. You know, they've got that convention center right there in the exit as you're getting off the interstate there, then going south. You kind of get into a rural section here before you get down to the exit for Great Falls. So that's the next exit off 77, and that's pushing directly at I-77. So it's not quite there yet. Let me look at the velocity data. Turn off the lightning. We don't need to worry about the lightning. So the signature is right in the middle of your screen. Let me grab this rotation. So here's the rotation on the radar showing up right there. Let me go down in that area and take a closer look. So the area we're talking about is just south of Richburg. Highway 97 is the one that's the exit to get to Great Falls. The little town of Blackstock is in that area, so it's heading right there. And then as you get off that exit, that Great Falls Mart, which is the gas station right off of 97 as you're going towards Great Falls. Mitford is another town there just to the southwest of Great Falls that would be in the path of that storm. And again, there's the rotation crossing Interstate 77 right now. So the tornado is crossing I-77 as we speak. Looking at some reports coming out of Chester, most of the golf ball size hail was along Highway 9 in East Chester. That's the area we're talking about. It looks like we're going to see a tornado warning issued here for Lancaster County in about the next 5 minutes or so. So I was just chatting with the Weather Service down in Columbia to see if they're going to do that. But south of Richburg, you're getting large hail. Fort Lawn, large hail. Lancaster, I think you're going to be okay from the tornado, but you're going to get some large hail and damaging winds. I'm going to put a track just on the tornadic signature, and I'm going to track it at 50 miles per hour. So the circulation is traveling this direction. So here's the towns in the path of the tornado circulation. Rossville, Caldwell Crossroads, Great Falls. Again, this is heading right at Great Falls. So please, in Great Falls, seek shelter now. Douglas, Pittman Crossroad, eventually Anvil Rock, Heath Springs down there in the southeastern corner of Lancaster County. That area, that's where it would be at around 7:09. Now the warning expires at 7:15 for Chester, but we're about to see a new one issued here for Lancaster County any moment now, as we've got a classic supercell clipping the southeast section of Chester County heading towards Great Falls. So very impressive supercell, something you would normally see out of the plains. The one thing we are seeing right here near Richburg, and we don't want to forget about the tornado, but this hail up in this area right here is probably getting close to ping pong ball, tennis ball size hail near Richburg heading towards Fort Lawn. So folks in the northern part of this storm, which are under the tornado warning, you need to seek shelter from the hail, because the hail will be windblown, and that's massive hail. We're going to do a quick cross section of this just to show you. That storm is impressive. So, whoops, let me go back up here. This section right in here is the section we're going to track right there. So that storm, you can see the height of it. We're going to turn off the warning numbers just for a second. So you could, that's not what I wanted to do. Grab the wrong cursor. So let's go back up to the storm. We'll put a cross section right there through the hail part of the storm. There you go. There's the hail right there. This storm is topping out at about 45,000 feet. Large hail. And anytime we see large hail like this, we also know we're probably getting a strong updraft. Supercells tend to produce that. All the lightning. The lightning's a given, so we'll turn off the lightning. But right here's that hail core I was telling you about, just southeast of Richburg, heading towards Fort Lawn. The tornado itself is crossing I-77 right now, heading towards Rossville. Now, Great Falls, Spring Park, that area, you need to seek shelter from that storm. It's definitely going to have some hail and likely a tornado in it. I've got a friend who's actually chasing down in Lancaster County right now. He's actually near, if you know this area, I've actually golfed there, the Edgewater Golf Club on Fishing Creek Reservoir. So he is just to the east of this, and he's telling me he's seen a lowering and probably what we call a wall cloud associated with the Mesocyclones. So he's over here just to the east. I'll get my cursor here so you can see. He's over in this area looking back towards the west. And he's giving me some good ground truth that there's definitely rotation in the storm. He can't see the funnel or the tornado on the ground from where he's at. He's still pretty far away. I'm going to ask him what he's seeing there right now, because he's in a perfect location. We've been kind of chatting back and forth about where we thought we would see a warning today, and this is kind of the area that we were thinking about. So Great Falls is right there. The tornado is about to cross over. I'm going to switch between a couple different products here just to see. We've got some messy velocity data there. A lot of lightning. The lightning doesn't help us very much, but very strong winds right there on 77. This is the type of wind that will blow vehicles off the interstate. So hopefully people in southeastern Chester County definitely were seeking shelter or pulled off. So again, I know a lot of you are watching me may not live in this area. If you know somebody in that area, traveling in that area, please call them, text them, reach out to them, send them a private message, a DM, whatever. Say, hey, this is a tornado on the ground in southern Chester County, pushing east at around 45 to 50 miles per hour. It is heading towards Great Falls right now. Now, this warning is set to expire at 7:15, but I have a feeling that the Columbia office is going to issue an updated warning. Let me do an updated storm track on this as it heads to the east. So there's the updated storm track. Again, if you're in any of those cities or you know somebody that lives in any of those cities, it's incumbent on you right now to go ahead, call those people, especially Great Falls. That's our next big population center, though honestly 77, this is scary because people are probably driving north and south and didn't even see us. Now it's crossed over the interstate. We just got a volume scan. So now it's basically right over Great Falls, about to cross the Catawba River. So this area right in here, Fishing Creek Reservoir, there along the Catawba River, that is the area it's heading for next. So Edgewater Golf Course, kind of essentially the southern part of the city of Lancaster. I guess that's still in there proper, but it's just south of there. And Heath Springs is the next area we'll watch. So we'll see if they extend this warning. It is definitely moving quick because just between our scans of the radar, is jumping quite significantly off to the east. I'm showing the circulation just to the northwest side of Great Falls right now. Really strong signature showing up on the radar. So if I go out in this area, right there along Highway 97 and Highway 901. So it's heading towards the northwest side of Great Falls. So this is going to cross over Great Falls Lake, which is kind of in between the southern side of Fishing Creek Lake and then Mountain Island and Big Island, which are islands along the Catawba River chain and the lakes down there in the reservoir. So this is basically, if you're down this area, you know this area right around Chester Avenue, which heads down into Great Falls, Pendergrass Boulevard, which goes up towards 21 and Highway 200, which eventually, if you keep going on 200, that'll take you all the way up to Springdale and eventually into Lancaster. So that area, basically from 77, it's kind of like the cut through from 77. You take 97 all the way over there and head over into Lancaster County. So we're talking about right in here. Let me grab my cursor. I'm going to turn off arrowhead. So we're talking about right in here is where the circulation is strongest, and it's moving in this general direction. So we don't have an updated warning for Lancaster County, even though this is about to cross the border. I'm curious to see what the Columbia office is going to do. They're debating whether or not they're going to put a warning out right now. They might just keep it as a severe thunderstorm warning as it moves towards Lancaster County, but they're going to put that tornado tag in there. And what that means is when there's a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado tag, that means that this storm is capable of producing a tornado or could produce a tornado with little or no warning. So let's put a track on this again, and it's tracking a little south of east. We call that a right mover because it's moving into the warmer, humid air, which is down in the Midlands of South Carolina. So that's our updated storm track. I have the circulation smack dab on top of Great Falls. Heads up in Lancaster, you're going to see some big hail here shortly. So if you got the car outside and you can get it into a carport or garage if you have it. Some people don't. Obviously, a lot of us don't. Park it next to a tree if you want to save it from some hail, but then you got to worry about the tree coming down. But anything to shield it from the hail coming down, because this is all large hail up in here traveling north. But the circulation right there, the hook echo, is traveling into the southeastern section of Lancaster County. So here's all the cities. So Heath Springs, 724. I've got 655 on my watch right now. That will put it there in about 25 minutes or so, give or take. And again, these times, remember, don't look at them specifically, plus or minus about 5 to 10 minutes, because this storm could speed up or slow down. There's the new tornado warning just issued for Kershaw and Lancaster County until 7:30. So you could see where the track is, essentially mirrors my storm track, because that's where the circulation is going. So the actual track is down in this area right here. The hail core is up here. So when I said earlier about right movers, this, if it's moving straight ahead, notice it's churning this way a little bit, okay? Warm, humid air is coming in from the south. There's a warm front up here. The right churner means it's churning into the flow. So if there's southerly winds coming in, as it churns this way, the southerly flows will actually spin this storm up more rapidly. That's actually a bad sign for storms. It actually causes them to rotate more intensely. So that circulation is just, it's off the charts there around Great Falls. I'm seeing almost, believe it or not, 140 to 150 mile per hour gate-to-gate shear. So that means inbounds and outbounds with the tornado are combined about 150 mile per hour winds. So that's going to be, you're talking EF3 type wind speeds associated with that based on the radar data. So that's a significant storm there. Let's go to that velocity data and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. See a Great Falls right there? Those really bright yellows. And what I'm going to do is I have to go to the lowest tilt here. So I'm going to put the radar down as low as I can, 0.2. That's the lowest tilt we have on this radar. You don't want it too low, it starts bouncing off trees. But right there in that area, so you got these 60, 72, and these are inbound wind. These are winds outbound, away, and the greens and blues would be towards the radar. So you can see the circulation right there. So if you think about the way this wind is flowing, it's doing this. Air going away from it and towards, and in between, if you had a pencil or paper towel tube, it would be rotating. Now we're getting some bad data there. That's pretty common with strong velocity. Moving straight over Great Falls. It's crossing the Catawba River right now. Moving into Lancaster County where the new warning was just issued. So there's the new tornado warning, which is going to take parts of Kershaw County. That's going to include the town of Kershaw, but Heath Springs as well. We actually probably are going to need to switch to the Columbia radar here. Give us a little bit better view, which I might do right now. We'll switch to the Columbia radar. So this is a look at the Columbia radar, which shows that hook very distinctly. And if you follow storms at all on radar, you hear us talk often about these hook echoes. And what they're indicating is strong winds. This is an inflow notch, that little clearing there, and the precipitation and hail's wrapping around the backside. So on radar, it creates a hook-like signature that kind of looks like a fish hook hanging down from the storm. And this is your classic supercell shape here. So you see the supercell and then the little appendage. So this is the hook echo showing up there, and that's right over Great Falls. So people in Great Falls, please stay in your safe location. Do not leave your center of your house, the interior room. If you are in a basement, please stay there. Do not leave. The storm is right on top of you. And if you're in southern Lancaster County, heads up. Now, we've seen some huge hail with this. Thanks to the guys in there for getting that. And Amanda, I think, probably helped, and Zach grab these hail pictures. These are the hail pictures I've been getting from Chester County. So you're seeing golf ball size hail. Look at that. That's probably 1.5 to 1.75 inches diameter. And just so you know, if you see golf ball size hail, get your roof checked immediately and check your car out. That is enough to cause damage. So that was in the town of Chester with the southern part of the northern part of the storm. We're on the southern part of this, which is the reflectivity side. So I'm going to go to the reflectivity, and we're going to go to velocity data again. We're going to turn the lightning off because we don't need to see the lightning. And we're going to look at that data. I'm going to switch to Columbia's radar because we've got a much better signature showing up there. So that's a little cleaner look from the Columbia radar, and it really is a classic rotation right there around Great Falls. So you see the reds are away from the radar. The little palette at the top of your screen will show you what's going on, what these colors indicate. This is wind going away, and the greens are the winds coming towards the radar. So the Columbia radar, which is the south on the bottom of your screen now, is showing that rotation. So very strong rotation within that hook echo. So if you imagine, I always tell people when I do school talks to kids, if you take a pencil and go like that, what happens to the pencil? It rotates between your hands. So the air in between this is how the radar indicates rotation. It shows rotation with that storm, and probably the biggest rotation is right there. So this whole thing is rotating, and then the tornado will be a little eddy that forms within that rotation, and it will sometimes spin around. It'll occlude, we call it, kind of fall apart, and a new rotation will form. So these are what we call cyclical tornadoes that happen in these supercells. That's why if you're under this area, you stay in your shelter till you get past, because new rotations, like right here, this might be another rotation. There might be one there that's rotating around the whole thing. So you always got to stay in your shelter location until the storm is completely past. It's also what makes it very dangerous for storm chasers because they'll get too close and see that circulation coming in from the other side and not see it. So very strong rotation moving in to the southern part now of Lancaster County. So this is on the very, very edge of our viewing area, almost in the Columbia area. Great Falls and Heath Springs and Kershaw are the three biggest cities in this area. And I'm just looking at a couple different products off camera here and checking with some of the spotters. And like I said, I have a friend tracking this down there. And the circulation is just really, really impressive. Everything all I'm seeing is So my spotter who's down there, like he's getting pelted with huge hail, he says. So he's on the northern side of this, and he's getting pelted with some really large hail. Look at some pictures as well. I'm going to retweet these guys so you can grab these, but we're getting some really strong indications of that rotation that we would normally see.
So
Yep,
Brad,
Sarah.
I'll jump in.
Yep.
Just to give you a break so you can read some of your tweets. But we've done a lot of stories in the past about obviously getting in the center of your house, putting on a helmet under your stairs is best. But you've also done stories about closing your doors in your home. And I think a lot of people don't realize that that can help you if you're under a tornado warning.
Yeah, you know, there's the old wives' tale that people, you know, way before we understood these things would tell you open windows, and once you don't want to do that. You want to close everything up. Make your house is basically a fortress. So every room is like a compartment. If you can close each door, it gives you more walls and levels of protection. Same goes for your garage door and your window. Shut everything, because once wind gets in your house, then it can start, and for layman's term, start inflating your house. It can make your house expand, and that's what usually causes your roof to pop off. Because once air gets into your house, it actually pumps up the house with some air, and your roof is held down by nails and gravity, so when air pushes from below, it actually causes the roof to lift off. This happens in hurricanes, strong wind events, or tornadoes. So yeah, close everything. And the helmets are a big part of this. You know, 80% of the people that get injured in tornadoes, they have head trauma. They get hit in the head with debris. So we want you to, especially the kids, get their bike helmet, skateboard, whatever helmet you can, protect their head. That's why at school when we do the tornado drills, we get down low and we cover our heads up with our hands because we want to protect our head. So that's the most important thing you can do in these situations. Get in that middle of the house. And the best way I can describe it to you is like force fields. Put as many between you and the outside. So the more walls you have, the better off you're going to be. And that could be, you know, that could be the second floor. Because remember, roof and the floor above your head is like another wall. So if you're on the bottom floor and you've got a ceiling and then the ceiling above that, that's two walls, and then you've got exterior walls. Now, not everybody has basements, and very few people have basements in this part of the country. That's great, but the middle of your house is still great. A bathroom, a pantry, even a hallway. But the windows are where you want to stay away from, because the flying debris, the same thing that's going to hit you in the head, is going to break those windows. And once the window's open, you don't have that force field. You might as well be outside, because now everything can come in and get you. So put those rooms with no windows. Half baths are great, because usually if they're in the middle of the house, they don't have anything. Pantries, closets. My house, it's a closet underneath the stairs. I'll tell you why that's a great spot. The stairs are very strong. They will support a lot of weight, and if you can get underneath the stairs, if other parts of the roof or anything collapse, the stairs will hold it up. Bathrooms are great for a couple reasons. One, because half baths tend to not always have windows. Some do if they're on the exterior wall. But the plumbing in the bathroom as well will help keep that room a little more sturdy. I don't know how many tornado surveys I've been on where the only thing left is the toilet and the bathtub. And the reason is it's anchored into the ground because of the plumbing or the septic system. So it's anchored into your concrete.
Interesting.
So if you grab the toilet or you're in the tub, that's actually likely to stay because it's anchored into the foundation of your house.
If you're an adult and you don't have a helmet, I'm sure a lot of adults do if they ride bikes, but if you don't, what are some other things you could grab?
So yeah, another thing you do is grab pillows from the bed, grab a bedspread, like a big fat comforter if you can, wrap that around your head or just cover yourself up. Some people, if you're able to grab a mattress, like a twin bed mattress with obviously king size or something that's easy, you can put it over you and your family to protect you, because the whole thing is to protect you from debris and to keep that stuff from getting to you. So those are all things you can do. And even if you have a workbench or even like you're in a basement, when I grew up in Ohio, we had a basement and we had a workbench, we would get under that. So something to help protect you from stuff falling or debris coming in. So I can give you the all clear in Chester County, even though you're under that warning still till 7:15. The storm has moved completely into Lancaster County, and the circulation itself is going to pass just south of Heath Springs. So this is what we call the right mover. This storm has done this. It's taken a right turn. If forward motion is left to right, like this, it's taken a veer off to the right. And why is that important? Well, down to the south, we've got warm, humid air because the warm front is sitting up there, and it's moving into a more favorable environment. So storms are just like anything else. They want to move to an environment where they have better conditions. So they're heading into that area. To the north, we've got storms, but the environment's much cooler. So this cell is moving towards an environment that's much more favorable for it to maintain itself. I see you guys popping up some pictures from my Twitter feed. Some of these are what we call mesocyclones. So you look at that looks like something out of Oklahoma. What you're looking at there is, that is the rotation within the storm. That's the rotating updraft we call the mesocyclone. Underneath that would be a wall cloud in the tornado, but that's a sign of the whole storm rotating. When you see something like that, that is really impressive, and that's from one of my chaser friends down in South Carolina. Just unbelievable to see that in South or North Carolina. It is crazy to see that in this part of the country, especially. There's another view of it. And again, these are some of my friends chasing down in South Carolina, meteorologists. That is a lowering base there. That is the mesocyclone. So somewhere behind those trees, one of the reasons it's not great to chase here is it's hard to see. But in this spot, you can see they actually had a pretty good visibility of the base of the cloud. And again, that's the section just south of Great Falls, heading to the southern section of Lancaster County. This is going to move into Kershaw County, so it's about to cross over the county line. Let me put a track on this section right here, down to the southeast. That is pushing into northern Kershaw County. So Stoneboro, Robbins Crossroad, Westville, Gaston Mill, Barfield Mill, and Kirkley Mill. That's where it's heading right now. That's the section of the storm we're watching as it moves into the northern section of Kershaw County. So let me widen out just to put this in perspective where this is in relation to Charlotte. Again, this is on the very southern part of our viewing area. Chester County was warned first. We're keeping an eye on that. And southern Lancaster County, so Heath Springs area, you're going to get clobbered with that big hail again. That's the area we're watching. Let's go back to the velocity data. Boy, there's a lot of lightning in there as well. So we're still seeing that strong circulation. I'm going to switch to the Columbia radar again because they're getting a little bit better view of it right in that vicinity. I'll put up so right in there is the circulation within the storm. And the reason we saw those spectacular pictures out of South Carolina of that basically thunderstorm cloud that was the mesocyclone, that's what we were seeing. We were seeing that large lowering, which was rotating, or the rotating updraft associated with that storm. So again, tornado warning remains in effect for Kershaw and Lancaster County till the bottom of the hour. That circulation continues to drive off to the south and the east. So this is that little wedge of Lancaster County. There's the Catawba River heading down south of Great Falls. So this is moving more in this direction than this direction. But up in here, huge hail falling right now in the southern part of Lancaster County. So heads up in Heath Springs, Kershaw. I think this is going to barely miss you, but I would be in my shelter location. Everybody in our purple box there, that's the polygon for the warning. That is the tornado warning. Stay in your safe location until this storm moves past you, and that's really not until back here towards the Chester County line. 77's clear, so hopefully everyone made it across 77 as that storm crossed over the interstate, because there was likely a tornado on the ground based on the radar, and I'm sure we're going to get some pictures and videos of people driving up on that, Sarah.
Yeah, if it's safe to do so, obviously, if you're in the path of this tornado warning, take cover. But if it is safe to do so, if you're north or south, you're seeing this hail, send us your pictures. You can tweet Brad, you can tweet WCNC, or you can email us as well. But that was a question I was going to ask you, Brad. When we had that tornado here in Charlotte not too long ago, I was coming into work on 77, and I was just south of that tornado that came through. But it was a standstill on 77, and it was all of a sudden sunny, nothing, light rain, downpour, hail. And I pulled over to the side. But if you're driving, and obviously we have these fairly frequently here in the Carolinas, what is the safest thing to do if you are on the road during this?
Yeah, it's hard because, a lot of people have a tough time finding themselves on the map. It's even harder when you're traveling because your orientation is kind of thrown off. Like, you don't know exactly where you are, and you might even hear the radio come on, or your phone might go off, and it might say tornado warning for X county, and you're driving, you may not know what county you're in, so it's always difficult. So keep your eye in the sky. If you think you're traveling towards the storm, stop, because storm is traveling this direction. If you're traveling north, wait it out. Pull over is fine. But one of the things that's worrisome is sometimes when traffic stops, I've seen this with hailstorms, everyone wants to stop under the bridge to protect their car. Well, you might be stopping an evacuation route for other people on the interstate. They get backed up and they get stuck in the actual tornado. So the best thing I can tell you in that situation is pull off and get to a gas station or rest stop, something like that, which has a shelter. You can go in there, check the map, maybe ask the clerk, hey, you know, I'm hearing a tornado warning, where are we at? That's the best thing to do. But the worst thing is to be in your vehicle and drive straight into that, because in that situation, a car is lifted very easily. It's almost as bad as being outside. I mean, I wouldn't want to be outside. Car would be the second worst place to be in a tornado because cars are lofted and rolled pretty easily. So I would pull off and go to the nearest truck stop, gas station, whatever's the closest exit, and try to get to a building, because if you have to, you would be able to get to a shelter in there, even the bathroom or the freezer in one of those locations. So checking some of the reports, we're getting to this area near Liberty Hill just had a wind gust to 75 miles per hour, which is just south of where this hook is. Anvil Rock on 522 there in the southern part of Lancaster County, northern Kershaw County. So we're kind of right on the county line is the area that we've been watching for possible rotation. So I'm looking at some of the spotters. A lot of folks are seeing that rotation and that storm down there, but they cannot see all the way down to the ground, so it's hard to tell if it's still near the surface. I'm looking at some of the data coming out of the radar, and I don't see anything anymore that indicates debris in that storm. So the good news is it looks like if there was a tornado, it might have lifted, but here's the problem. As I was mentioning earlier, this storm has a tendency to cycle. We might see it reorganize in a new tornado form, because this is a very healthy supercell, we call it, and it's tracking south and east, so it's moving in this direction. It's moving towards McBee in the southwest corner of Chesterfield County, Patrick down in there, so those areas in northern Kershaw, southeastern Lancaster County, southwestern Chesterfield County, those areas are now the ones that will likely be impacted by this supercell. Large hail is a given, damaging winds definitely, and then the possibility that this could reform a tornado with little or no warning. It's definitely got the potential to produce more tornadoes, and because this front is sagging to the south, and I'm going to widen this out, and I'll draw on the warm front. It looks like the warm front, and I'm going to grab it here, is sagging to the south, and it seems like these storms are developing on and near the warm front, which is going down like this. So they are moving along the front. I'll loop this, and you can see how as they get into that warmer air south of the front, that's where they have the potential to be more severe and have the potential to rotate. So there's the storm. Kershaw, Robbins Crossroads. Again, remember, this is not too far from where we had the high school hit down here. I think it was North Fairfield High School. I can't remember what high school it was, right there south of Kershaw. But that was that tornado back in January, I believe, went through there middle of the night, impacted that area. So this is the exact same location that we're referring to. Chester County just had a golf ball size hail report come in as that line moved through there. We were talking about that earlier. More reports of that coming in. The tornado warning continues for Kershaw and Lancaster County until 7:30. The thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was about near Heath Springs, so that's exactly where we've been kind of keeping an eye on it. I'd say it's more north Stoneboro area, but Heath Springs, it's centered right over you. 12 miles north of the Lake Watery Dam, and it's moving east-southeast at about 45 miles per hour. So we saw a quick spin up develop into a pretty significant tornado. This has likely been on the ground since Chester, because I've seen a debris signature with it all the way past Great Falls, but here in the last couple of scans of the radar, we're not seeing as much of that showing up. And again, I'm going to switch some different, it's in kind of radar no man's land here, so it's in between two different radars, so we're not getting a really good view. So see, I'm looking at the radar out of Columbia, and occasionally I'll pull up the radar out of Greer, South Carolina, which is equal distance away, and the terminal Doppler radar, which is up here in the Charlotte area, is just out of range. So Columbia's got the best look at it, and that rotation is not nearly as strong as it was earlier. But the storm is still showing signs of rotation broadly We just don't have the circulation that we would normally see. Maybe in there, like right around there would be the circulation if it was near the ground. But this is heading into northern Kershaw County, so this is about to move out of our viewing area into the Columbia market, but it's on the very edge of the county line. It's basically riding the county line. If you've ever been down in that area, the southern part of Lancaster County, northern Kershaw County, kind of go up and down. So at times you could drive between several counties. And Sarah, we're talking about, driving. You could drive west and east there and go back and forth between 2 or 3 counties. And that's where it gets confusing, because a lot of times your phone will pop up with a county on it, and you say, oh, I'm in Kershaw County. Oh, now I'm in Lancaster County. But
right.
Both counties under that warning with that little area. So it can be really, really confusing. That's why I'm a big fan of our WCNC Charlotte weather app, because you can turn on the GPS. You don't need to know where you're at. The GPS will tell you if your phone is in that warning, it's going to go off. Right. No matter where you are in the country, not even in our viewing area. So if you're down there and the GPS says your coordinates are within that pink box on the screen, your phone will go off for a tornado warning.
It's just reassurance to know, what do I need to do? And you said earlier, if you are driving, pull over to a gas station, try to seek some shelter as this system moves through. And just to let you look at your computer a little bit if you need to, Brad had said if you are in the path of this storm, seek shelter in the middle of your home, under the stairs. The bathroom is a great place as well. Brad was saying plumbing is one of the most secure things in your home. On the first floor, a basement if you have one, put a helmet on your children and just stay away from the windows. That's the best thing you can do. And also, a tidbit he taught me is closing all the doors in your house. That can help as well if a tornado warning is coming through.
Yeah, and really, we're seeing I'm not seeing any reports of rotation, but I'm seeing a lot of hail reports. So I do want to caution you. There's a new severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Chesterfield, Kershaw, and Lancaster County. That's because of large hail. And I probably have had more hail reports on my Twitter feed than anything else, which is good and bad. We haven't seen a lot of damage, so hopefully this tornado missed a lot of structures. But
that is huge.
Yeah, that's very uncommon for these parts. Now, if you look closely at that, one of the things you can do to hail is you cut it in half. It'll have rings, and each ring will tell you how many times it went through the cycle in the storm where it froze, got wet again,
really?
Refroze. It tells you the life cycle. So the more rings means the longer it was suspended in that storm. It's kind of like tree rings. So when you see those different, gradations in there, it looks like a gobstopper sometimes when you break them open. But that's golf balls. Golf ball size hail is about 1.5 inch to 1 3/4 inch. That's the threshold where you're going to have roof damage. You may not think you have roof damage, and then the next time it rains, you're going to realize you had roof damage, because it won't be really visible unless you're a trained inspector or roofer. I remember getting golf ball size hail and thinking my car was fine, and the next day the sun came up and the angle, it looked like little dimples all over my car.
Oh, that happened to my husband's car when we were in Boston, and there was a huge hailstorm. But then you have to decide, Brad, if you don't have a garage, do you go under the tree and try to protect your car from the hail, and then you risk, we have lots of trees fall in this area.
I've had a lot of questions about that. Like, what do we do? Could I park it next to the house? I mean, literally anything that can keep the hail or slow it down is great. Now, you're taking a gamble with the tree. The tree branches would slow it down, but then you got tree branches and trees that could come down. I've seen people take pool floats and strap them to the hood of their car.
Oh, my goodness.
Put blankets on just to soften the blow of the hail.
Smart.
It'll work. And you got to think about it. Even a tarp, if you could hang a tarp over and make it really tight, slow down. Because remember, this hail is falling from about 45 or 50,000 feet. In fact, I can actually tell you how high that hail is. So this hail in this storm, I'm going to turn off that, is falling from approximately 45,000 feet. So by the time that golf ball size hail gets to the ground, it's moving at about 75 miles per hour. So imagine somebody throwing a golf ball at you at 75 miles an hour, in some cases 80 miles per hour, depending on how high it is. So if you can slow that velocity, that terminal velocity down, you can actually protect your car. So anything you can do to help. I know there's nothing worse, and I said this yesterday when we had the big hailstorms in South Carolina, there's nothing worse than the sound of hail pummeling your car and you just can't do anything about it.
Right. So how much time do you have before this storm hits really to safely get out?
This storm, if you're in the southwestern corner of Chesterfield County, you've got probably about 20, 30 minutes. I'll put a track on it, so it's moving in this direction. So let's say MACB, which is a little stop through if you head to the beach. Great peach farm down there as you're going down to the beach. A 7:54, so you've got about 30 minutes, right? You've got about 30 minutes to check it out and go maybe try to protect your car, park it under a tree in the house, carport. I've seen people drive it to the local gas station and put it underneath the awning there to protect their car. Now, I don't know if the gas station's going to let you stay there very long, but if you have a nice car, people will go out of their way to protect your car. Part of the problem with being in your car this time during this event is, you know, in South Carolina, a lot more things are open, which is probably good because, like I said, if you're driving and you could pull over and the gas station is open and you can go in there, a lot of fast food restaurants aren't open for indoor dining. So I've known people that have pulled over and gone into, you know, whatever establishment and use it as shelter. You may not be able to do this in this case because of COVID-19. So think about that. You might have to go to a gas station or keep driving to the next best location, okay? So this tornado warning is set to expire here in 7 minutes for Kershaw and Lancaster County. It might be extended into Kershaw and maybe even southwestern Chesterfield County. If it does, we'll stay on it here, but this is on the very edge of our viewing area, about to move out. It still has a very defined hook echo on it. That's that little appendage sticking out from the south, and I'm going to go in close here, and I'm going to turn.
And I think it's important to note, too, you know, I'm just looking at these pictures and tweets from viewers and stuff, and we know Jeopardy is usually on right now, but people don't realize that as a local news station, we are required to do this if there's a tornado warning, and we can't go off the air.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if we didn't have to do this, but unfortunately, this is really the only means that a lot of people have to get these warnings. And again, it's our civic duty to do that. And that hook echo is continuing to move off to the south and east. I know it could be frustrating if you don't live in that area. You're like, it's not affecting me, but you know, our broadcast signal goes all the way down to almost Columbia, goes into the mountains up to the Virginia line. So we have a pretty broad area that we're responsible for. And those people's homes and lives and properties are just as important as everybody in and around the Charlotte area. So there's the hook echo. I tracked it moving towards the south and east, towards Westville, Gaston Mill, Lockhart Oil Field. That's a new one. Jordan Mill. And then down towards Bethune. So that's Bethune. I know that area. That's right on the Chesterfield County line, just to the south and west of McBee, which is there in Chesterfield County. There has got to be some large hail coming out of this, because just looking at the reflectivities here around Kershaw, Heath Springs, I just had a report from a viewer down there of some pretty good sized hail. It looked like golf balls to me. Kershaw, you're probably getting some really large hail. Let me put the hail track on here. Look at that swath of hail. So this is a 1 hour hail track. And so just to tell you what that is, let me go back to the hail track. I'll plot some of the sizes. So this is the hail that the radar is estimating. Now, it wasn't 3 inches. It melted a little on the way down. But with a little bit of melting, that's melting down to about 1.5 inches. I would not be surprised if there was 2-inch diameter hail. Baseball size hail is about 2.5 inches to 2 3/4 inch. So you're getting around tennis ball size hail, but that's a pretty significant swath of hail. That'll cause a lot of damage. A lot of roofs and cars will be damaged with that type of hail swath. So there's the storm in relation to Charlotte. Charlotte, we're going to see just good old-fashioned rain and some storms, but look at all the storms developing along the state line, and these are all tracking along the cold front, or the warm front, excuse me, and a couple more of these are showing signs of rotation in Chester County, so we might see additional warnings with some of these.
Brad, Sarah, a viewer, wrote in, and I actually don't know the answer to this question. She was asking if there are tornado sirens in North Carolina.
Very good question. I get that often. I'll give you my little rant on tornado sirens are outdoor warning devices. They are not meant to be used inside your home, especially nowadays because of all the installation requirements and energy requirements. Our homes are very energy efficient now, and so hearing a tornado siren with your window shut is really hard. The other thing is they are controlled by each individual county, and they decide when and how they are used. So I don't like to use them because they kind of give people a false sense of security, and sometimes they give false alarms. So phones are great. We have great technology now. Reverse 911 is great for even people with landlines. We can warn everybody within this warning polygon and not warn people outside. False alarm is almost as bad as no warning. We don't want people to get the cry wolf syndrome or the car alarm syndrome where they just stop listening. So we don't want to overwarn. And the problem with tornado sirens, the sound goes to the whole county. The
Right.
warning we see right here, this warning is for the southeast corner of Lancaster County. If I'm up in the Ballantyne area on the border, I don't need the warning for Kershaw.
Right.
I need the warning for up near me. So that's why sirens are not really advised. They're kind of obsolete, and they're not used anymore in most locations of the country. They're investing in other things like text alerts, reverse 911, other efficient ways to give warnings out. So this warning is set to expire. We're probably going to go off the air here at about 7:30 unless this warning is extended. This is still a strong supercell, and I also would caution you, these cells developing back to the west all bear watching as well, because they're moving in a similar environment that is favorable for rotation. I'm just glancing at the rotation in some of these. I don't see a lot right now, but all these storms have to watch in this area. If you remember earlier during the 6 o'clock news, I highlighted an area of greatest concern, and this was pretty much it. Right in here, this is where the warm front is. So this is the area we'll be watching for the next couple of hours. So guys, I think we're going to go back to programming here at the bottom of the hour so we can get in cleanly. Just let me know, and we'll go back to it. But Sarah, we might be back on at some point. Of course, I'm going to be online. I'll be posting updates on Facebook, Twitter, as well as our station page as well, WCNC.com. And if you don't have our app, this is a good time to plug it. Remember, the GPS alerts for our weather app and the live streaming with our news app. 2 reasons I would download both of them, because then you can watch these live streams on the news app, and we also have the GPS alerts on the weather app. So it's always a great tool to have. So again, tornado warning set to expire for Kershaw, Lancaster County here at the bottom of the hour. I'm looking to see if they're going to just go ahead and let it expire. It looks like they're just going to let it go right now and not issue another one. But heads up, in all of the upstate of South Carolina, we might see additional warnings issued with these other storms. Certainly going to see severe thunderstorm warnings, but we could see in any of these, because the environment, any one of these storms can and will produce a tornado with little warning. So just a heads up for York County, Lancaster County, Chester County, and even southern Union County, North Carolina, and Chesterfield County. All those counties that you see on the screen, I'm going to widen this out and we'll let it loop a couple times. You can see the big cluster of storms that continues to push off to the south and east. So again, this warning expiring right now here at the top of the hour, or the bottom of the hour, I should say, 7:29. Here goes the warning, just expired as you're watching. We're now going to return to your programming, everybody. Already in progress. If we get any more warnings, we'll cut back in and let you know.